Okay, so there are a couple things that I want to add to the conversation about trans people, and I think more specifically trans women participating in sports. I'm assuming this will just be added to the record of the US Supreme Court as they have a pending decision on this, so just plop that into the court records for me, anyone. The first thing is just that this whole conversation about trans people participating in sports is just blatantly transphobic. People will try to have a conversation about like hormones and puberty and like differences in bodies and try to make it seem like there are more nuances here, but it really is just baseline transphobia. If you are interested in women succeeding in sports, if you're concerned about women's sports, you should see a trans woman winning as a woman winning. When they do win, we should celebrate them. When they lose, we should celebrate them. We should celebrate women in sports, and that includes trans women. Just as an example that highlights just how horrible all of this is, there was a case a few weeks ago where a woman was competing in masters level swimming in the UK. I don't have her name off the top of my head, but masters level swimming is 50 plus. Masters level running, whatever, it means 50 plus, so it's older people. And because of the UK's recent ban on transgender athletes, or it was like English swimming specific ban that comes out of all this transphobia in the UK, this woman was unable to compete with her peers and had to compete in the men's race, and so in protest, she decided to wear like men's swimming trunks or jammers. She wore a men's suit instead of a women's suit, so just had her full tits out in protest. And there's one way to read that is like, go on, well done, girl, go girl, you really stuck it to them and you got your tits out for trans rights. And that's great. But there's another way to look at this, which is to say that this woman is 67 years old, competing with other women who are over 50. And I just feel like we should be celebrating everyone who is doing lifelong athletic achievements. If you are in your 60s and you're still swimming and racing, that is something to be celebrated. And if you are a woman, if you're a trans woman who's doing that, we should be celebrating you. And it is so shameful that you would get to this level of your life where you're 67 and you're still like wanting to race and to have to be brought down and humiliated in front of people is just horrible, and it feels like a disrespect for athletics in general and for women's athletics. And the other thing, the hypocritical thing about this is that people's bodies change as they age. And the thing about masters athletics, whether it's running or swimming or cycling or anything, is that the biggest determining factor in how well you're going to do is how old you are. So if this 67-year-old woman is competing against a 50-year-old, that 50-year-old is going to have a much more advantage, whether or not they are cis or trans. Like, as you get older, your body is changing and your performance is changing. And as well, with women, there's a thing called menopause, where women stop menstruating and their bodies change. So if we're trying to go based off of these gender markers of genitalia or hormones or whatever, then a lot of women who are in master's level swimming don't fit those categories because their bodies aren't making estrogen. And it just to poke that idea that this is about women's sports, that this is a complicated conversation and we need to create all these grades of people who are different kinds of trans or different kinds of women, or that trans people need to be their own category. It's just transphobia. These people are women. You should celebrate them. If you care about women's athletics, you should celebrate trans women athletes. The second point I want to make is that this conversation is not only transphobic, it is sexist. This might be it's a lot more obvious because you can see that this whole conversation is happening around trans women competing in athletics, in women's athletics. There is no conversation about trans men competing in men's athletics. There's no scariness about, oh my god, will these trans men, because they're on testosterone or anything like this, outcompete other men. And that is sexist because it presupposes that women, people who are born and go through a female puberty, are weaker than men or people who go through a male puberty, or people who are just born or assigned male at birth. If you know any women athletes, if you've ever watched a race, you know that this is not the case. There are women who are so fucking strong, who are so fucking fast, so fucking good at what they do that they can outcompete any man. And like, if you don't think that's the case, if you think that any person who was assigned male at birth and transitions into a woman is gonna be by default faster than a cis woman, then you're sexist. I'm sorry. It also completely discounts, like, this completely falls apart when we get outside of individual sports, like running or swimming, and we get into team sports, because having one trans person on your team does not give you an advantage in a sport where it's all about communicating with your teammates and passing a ball between each other. One person's performance does not make a team. It's the team that makes the team. And so just this idea that, like, specifically trans women are a threat to specifically cis women, it discounts the strength that all women have, trans women and cis women. And it just infuriates me. And I think if you care about women's athletics, again, you should care about trans people. You should care about trans people being able to compete, to being able to lead their teams to victory, to being able to win themselves. You should see that as a victory. The third thing I want to say, and I want to say that this is kind of to point out kind of the inconsistency within this, like, anti-trans movement. It is kind of a little bit of a bioessentialist point, and I don't think that this future I'm going to describe as the best future. But what I'm saying, what I mean to say is that if you're concerned about people who have gone through puberty as a man competing against people who have gone through puberty as a woman, again, if you believe all of this, like, we have to, like, think about hormones and all of this stuff, think about muscle mass, blah, 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 what you actually should be promoting is for kids who are trans to be able to go on puberty blockers and to be able to access hormones. Because if you're trans and before you go through your entire puberty, if you're able to access hormone therapy, then your body is going to more closely align throughout your entire life to what people expect a cis woman or a cis man to be. So in a future where everyone is able to access the hormones that they want, and everyone is able to go through puberty the way they want to, this is not going to be as much of a problem, because you won't have as many people who are who went through puberty as one gender transitioning to another, whose bodies are significantly different. Again, I don't like this argument, because obviously in this future you will still have people who go through their full adult lives, and it's not until later in life that they realize that they are trans and want to transition. And those people should also be able to compete. You have people like myself who are non-binary, who fit outside of the gender spectrum, who don't want to do any sort of hormonal or surgery-based transition. Those people should also be able to compete. But if you're specifically concerned about this whole hormone thing, about puberty stuff, then you should let people access hormones. And it just is so contradictory that these people want to, one, scrutinize people's bodies because of their hormones, and two, like make sure that they don't have access to the gender affirming care that would help them align more closely with these standards that they're trying to put together. It's just to say that this is just transphobia, and that's that it's just a smokescreen for their transphobia to be like concerned about these people's bodies. Again, it's kind of like it would be very narrow to say that we need all trans people to be able to go through hormones as kids, and to be able to get puberty blockers and do all this stuff when they're kids. Not everyone. That's not going to be right for everyone. We shouldn't say that that's the only way to be trans. But they don't want anybody to be trans. That's the thing. They want to block access to puberty blockers and hormones, and they want to block access to people who have, by hook or by crook, already transitioned to competing and functioning fully in society. The last point is more from my perspective. So I'm a non-binary person. I've been competing. I'm a runner. I've been running since I was in high school. I'm fairly good at running. I'm fairly fast. I've been competing where I can in the non-binary gender category. When there's no non-binary gender category, I compete as a man. Because I've been running so long and been competing in that category for so long, like, it doesn't feel great, but it doesn't feel the worst to like sign up for a race that doesn't fit my gender. But I do like being able to sign up and click the right box that fits my gender identity and to compete as a non-binary person. However, it's also really weird, especially because I am fast. That puts me in a category with all other non-binary people, and there aren't that many of us, and there aren't that many of us who have been able to like get good enough at sports and at running, because these sorts of gender oppression dynamics keep people from these sorts of opportunities. So this is all to say, when I compete in a non-binary category, 9 times out of 10 I win, and it's nice. It's, you know, I'm on a PhD stipend. I'm not making that much money, so a little bit of money is nice. But like, I feel weird winning all the time because I'm not the fastest person out there, and I never have been. And also, I don't like really run or train to win. I run to race and to run with other people and to push myself. And so this is my thing, is that I think we need to get away, actually, from the idea that competing and athletics are about winning. I think the idea of the Olympics being a competition between countries where we all have to root for our country to get the most medals. Is it going to be China? Is it going to be the US? How is France going to rank? All this stuff that leads to this sort of like posturing is quite toxic and horrible. And I think most athletes, most high-level athletes, would tell you that it is actually not about winning. When you're running a race, like I do, it's not about, even if you're in the very front, even if it's you and one other person, it's not about beating that one other person. It's about pushing each other to do the best that you can do, because you both know that you only have so much in the tank for the rest of the race, and you want to get each other there, and you want to push each other to be the best and have a really good race. Like, that's what it's about. Like, when cyclists are in a peloton, they're not in a peloton in a big group. It's the Tour de France right now. Like, they're not in that big group because they all are at the same level. They're cycling together to get each other to the end of the race and to push the peloton forward, to push a little bit faster. Like, we are not all competing against each other, even in individual sports. We are all competing to make this the best race that it can be, to push everyone that little bit faster. World record races are impressive for the person who comes in first and sets the world record, but they're also impressive because everyone pushed that person forward and pushed everyone forward to be able to achieve that world record together. like even individual sports are a communal act. And so I would like to see an athletics and a sporting culture where actually gender doesn't matter, and we can all run together, we can all compete together. An Olympics that's not about which nation comes in first, but celebrating what we can achieve as humans, celebrating what the human body can do, the disabled human body can do, the trans human body can do. I don't think that that's too far away from how actual athletes experience their sport. And I think trans inclusion, non-binary inclusion, mixed gender teams in team sports, these are steps that we can take to make athletics more inclusive, and to be focused on this one little stupid little fight about whether certain kinds of women can compete in women's sports. Certain kinds of athletes that have worked and that want to keep working to compete with others and to run with others and swim with others should be able to compete, or whether they should be on the sidelines. That is just a distraction. It is just a distraction, and it pisses me off so much. So, as I said, please just put this in the Supreme Court record so Samuel Alito can read it, and that Clarence Thomas can choke on it. And I look forward to reading Ketanji Brown Jackson's dissent with you all.